Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to Telling Time. It's that time of the year again, the time to look back at the year of watch collecting and see how my collection has turned out. I think you guys enjoyed the last State of the Collection video, so hopefully it'll be interesting again this year round. But before we start with the SOTC, let's have a look at the fallen soldiers, the watches that have made an exit from my collection since 2024. And there is surprisingly only one watch, the Tudor Black Bay 36. I had let this one go as it had been slowly getting less and less wrist time after I picked up my Tudor Pelagos 39. And at its price, I wanted to move it on to make room and funds for some other watches in my collection. So sadly, it went in 2024. Some other honorable mentions that you may have noticed are missing are my Cartier de Santos Medium, Rolex OP34 and Seiko SNE583P. And before you freak out, don't worry, I haven't sold them. I would be in big trouble if I did. If you followed my channel for a while, you will know that I relocated from Australia to London last year, and hearing the stories of crime and theft here in London, I thought it would be best if I didn't bring my most prized possessions here to be lost. So, rather than being sold, these pieces have been relegated to safe queens back at home. So to begin with my current state of the collection, it's got to start and end with my trusty Casio G5600. And what can I say? I don't think I'd ever get rid of this watch, as it's one of my very first watches and it's just so durable, functional and also stylish with the right outfits. If anything, I'd probably start collecting even more G-Shocks. 42.8mm by 49mm and 13.4mm stick, with the durable resin case construction, 200 meters of water resistance and solar quartz movement. Yeah, this piece is just good value and honestly too good to not have in your collection. I even made a video dedicated to why you need this watch in your collection, so make sure you check it out if you haven't. Next is my Alpha Explorer. In my previous SOTC, I had said this watch was up for the chopping block, but alas, it has survived one more year. And to be honest, it survived partly due to my laziness to sell it off, and partly because of the price point. Although I don't really wear it much, that iconic homage Rolex Explorer design is quite nice, and I do find myself wearing it from time to time. Maybe in the future I would be able to sell it off, or I might even pass it down as a gift, but I don't really consider it as part of my core collection anymore. Next is another oldie but goodie in my collection, the Seiko SNE583P. Again, this is another case of on the chopping block but managed to cling on. I do really like this piece and I think it's one of the better and well-fitting Seiko divers at its price point. 38.5mm diameter by 46.5mm lug to lug and only 10.6mm stick. Also with the sapphire crystal and Seiko solar movement. This watch is a really versatile piece and I do find myself wearing it still on various occasions, especially for swimming in more rough conditions or in the sauna where I don't want to rest my Tudor Pelagos. Again, I will probably eventually move it on or give it away, but for now I'm still enjoying the piece. Next up is the Dan Henry 1962. This one is another great value piece and one of the first pieces that I picked up for my collection. But to be completely honest, this year I've been finding myself gravitating towards it less and less. Maybe because I've picked up more new and shiny pieces. I do still really like the watch and it's become a bit limited as I think the new 1962 models all come with a red chronograph hand, which I don't really like. Again, I do think it's still a great piece with that perfect 39mm size and vintage charm from the dome crystal. For now, I'll probably keep it in my collection as it's the only chronograph that I have, but hopefully I will be able to focus on upgrading my chronograph slot in the collection in the future. Let me know if you have any suggestions for which chrono I should have a look at. Next, moving on to some of the new pickups for 2025 and starting with the Bausele X Second Sydney Diver. If you've seen my previous videos, you probably already know the story behind this watch. My fate with this watch began all the way in the Between the Lugs watch fair where I was introduced to Bausele and met Christo, the founder. I really loved the story and the craftsmanship behind the brand, and after seeing Christo speak so passionately about watches, I decided to pick one up for myself. I managed to get one of the last of these limited edition pieces, and I just really loved the playful and whimsical design. The watch has a black PVD case contrasted with the white and aqua blue sandwich style. It also has a unique and playful second hand with a graphic that turns and gives either a shark fin or surfboard fin motif every 30 seconds. The watch has a great balanced size of 39.5mm by 47.5mm and 11mm stick. It's also a seriously well-built dive watch that has withstood some serious real-world testing. Overall, I really enjoyed this watch, and more than anything, everything about it reminds me of home when I get a bit homesick. From the brand message to the iconography and even the Australian sand in the crown. I'm still glad that I picked up this watch, and hopefully I will be able to keep it in my collection. Following that is another significant pickup for the year, the Tag Heuer Formula 1 Solargraph. This watch is a 38mm reissue with the design paying homage to vintage Formula 1 line watches. But what really drew me to this watch was not only the iconic design but the build quality. Rather than a plastic construction, the watch was produced in a blasted steel case with a bullet style bracelet and a really nice easy link system. I gratefully received this watch as an anniversary gift from my wife, and my idea for the watch was to have it as a keeper that will age together with me and become its own vintage piece years later. So far, I've honestly really enjoyed the watch. It's so comfortable and easy to wear, and I've taken it to many adventures around the world. I also wear it to work, and with its specs, it's really fit for any occasion, rain or shine. And yeah, I know some people will have negative comments about the watch, but at the end of the day, what really matters is that I like it and I enjoy it every time I put it on. Next is my trusty old Tudor Pelagos 39. And what more can I say about this watch? It's become one of my most trusted accessories and still gets a lot of wrist time. As you can see here, it's picked up quite a bit of wear and tear, but overall, I'd still like to think that it's in a pretty good condition. 39mm titanium case size and only 12mm stick, with 200m of water resistance and a COS certified movement. This watch is honestly a spec monster when it comes down to it, and that's part of why I value it so much. I've had this watch for many years now, and using it in every condition, I've never once had an issue with it, which shows the quality and reliability of Tudor. As I mentioned before, I don't think anything could replace my Tudor Pelagos 39 at this point, unless I somehow find my way to a Rolex sub. This watch just ticks the box in every aspect: versatile, reliable, low-key and purpose-built. The hardest thing about owning this though is that I love so many other Tudor models and I can't have them all. But needless to say, I'm quite happy with my Tudor Pelagos 39. And last but certainly not least, welcoming my newest watch acquisition, the 1968 61KS reference 6145-8000. If you've been following along on my watch adventures lately, you will know that I recently taken a trip to Japan and had an amazing time there trying to pick up a vintage watch, and yes, this was the lucky winner. This is one of the earliest 61GS models with a sleek design by Taro Tanaka. Just look at those polished and brushed facets and the box crystal. It almost looks futuristic, so it would have definitely been ahead of its time when it was released. The movement is a 6145A high-beat automatic movement with a quick set date, and I really chose this model for its automatic movement, as I just prefer automatic to hand wind. Although it's kinda scratched up, I was really happy to come across this watch as I think it's still in good condition for a 60-year-old watch, and it hasn't really been refinished or redialed, so it retains its vintage charm. And yeah man, I never thought that my first Grand Seiko watch would be a vintage piece, but I absolutely love it. My entire rationale behind buying this piece was that I really wanted a classical piece on a leather strap, and it was just a bonus that it came on this beautiful 5-kids crocodile leather strap. I think this will be able to fill the dress watch slot in my collection for a long time, and hopefully I'll be able to keep it in good condition. And finally, as a bit of a bonus, we have the watches of my wife's collection. My wife only has 2 watches, but I'm happy these days because she goes watch browsing with me and is interested to pick up more. But more importantly, she's happy for me to pick up more. I mean, you gotta survive in this hobby somehow, right guys? First up is a piece that I showed in my previous SOTC, the Longines Master Moonphase 34mm. I got this as an engagement gift for my wife, and I personally think that this is an awesome watch for ladies. 34mm case with a mother of pearl dial and diamond set markers. A beautiful Moonphase display at the 6 o'clock and powered by the in-house L899 caliber with 72 hours of power reserve, which you can see in this display case back here. The watch also comes on this beautifully polished bracelet with a butterfly clasp. I think overall this watch is so elegant and perfect for everyday wear. I actually really love Longines as a brand and think they present such great value, but I've just never been able to pick up a piece for myself. But I think that the Longines Master and Elegance collection for women are just so awesome. And lastly is her latest acquisition, the Cartier Tank Must Small. I actually got her this for our anniversary, as I thought it was a fitting, iconic piece to commemorate the special occasion. And yeah, what can I say about the tank? The watch comes in with this iconic rectangular design with the tank tread sides and classical Cartier Roman numeral dial. Also with heat blue sword hands and the blue accented crown. The case comes in at 29.5mm by 22mm and just 6.6mm thick. My wife really loves this watch because it's just so iconic and recognizable, and the small size makes it really versatile to pair with different outfits. And yeah, it's nice now that we have a pair of Cartiers. So that was it for my 2025 State of the Collection. Looking at my collection all here, I think I'm happy with it for the moment, and for the future, I think I really want to focus on my GMT and chrono pieces, but it's just so hard to decide on one GMT and one chronograph watch that can solidify itself in my collection. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments. I'm still wanting to pick up an integrated sports piece, and I have been eyeing the Nevada Grenchen F77 for the longest time, but I never got around to it. But if you guys know of any other contenders, do let me know. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again in the next one.